everyone. My name is Sam King from the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology. And today I'm lucky to be joined by Nico Sesson-Farre, who is a recent graduate of Eton College, who recently finished one of our online courses in the Introduction to Religion and Ecology. So welcome to the podcast, Nico.
Thank you very much, Sam. Hi, everyone. My name, obviously, I just graduated from Eton College. I'm on my gap year. And I've been very interested in the intersect between religion, the protection of the environment, and ecology. And yes, I filled out and I completed a course by Yale about this, and it led me to become very interested in indigenous religions, particularly in South America, and how they view the environment, how we can learn from them as a society.
Amazing. And I'm so glad after helping to build these courses a few years ago that you in the UK have stumbled upon our Coursera courses and gleaned so much, especially from this introductory course. And I'm curious, what led you to find this course in the first place? And how did you become interested in this intersection of religion and ecology?
So I'm particularly interested in environmental economics. At school, that's what I applied to do. In the UK, you apply to a major and you complete that major and start that major from your time enrollment in university. And I sort of, while researching environmental economics, I became quite interested in how religions impact economic policy decisions, because in a lot of the world, religious leaders are seen as very important, particularly, and I came to find out doing this course within Southeast Asia, for example, in places like Thailand, religious monks lead people, and they are seen as very important in society. So I came across Kate Raworth's book, and it talks about the cyclical economy, and it talks about regenerative by design and sustainability. And I am religious myself. I'm a Christian, so I was quite interested in seeing how our impacts and how our viewpoints of stewardship impact how we view the world, and subsequently how we use the world and how we use its resources for our economic development.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that you have explored this relationship between, environmental economics, and what you mentioned, Kate Raworth's work on donut economics, which has been so powerful and influential, and how that relates to worldviews and the values that drive humans to relate in different ways with the more than human world, and the ethics and the religious values housed in the world's religions that condition whether we treat the earth as a collection of objects to be exploited, as Thomas Berry would say, or a communion of subjects to be related to with reverence and reciprocity. And so I'm curious, what did you find from the course? What was interesting to you? What stood out to you from kind of bringing your lived experience and interests into conversation with the course materials?
Well, I think the most impactful thing was the ability and the opportunity to learn from people that come from very different backgrounds to us. Mm-hmm. So the fact that now in such an interconnected world where we can learn from indigenous populations everywhere, how that can actually impact how we think of the environment. Because what was really impactful to me was this idea of stewardship within Christianity, and how we are made in the image of God, and how that may impact actually how we view the environment. If we're in the image of God, and God is the all-seer and omnipotent, does that mean that we think we are in a hierarchical system above the planet? And does that give us the opportunity to exploit it, like we are doing so much nowadays? And the course really, I did the introduction. So obviously I was shown lots of different religions, from Confucianism to indigenous religions within the Amazon. It was really quite impactful to understand how different societies don't only see the environment as a means of factor production, but actually they see it as a thing, and as many indigenous cultures within Bolivia see it, like as Pachamama, Mother Earth. And Mother Earth works with us, Mother Earth wants to help us. But I didn't seem to see this in my own daily life. Whenever I see economics, whenever I was studying it, it was just, these are resources, we use them. And it's heartbreaking to see the impact this has had upon the environment.
Yeah, it's interesting to note the language of resources you mentioned, or thinking about ecosystem services in economics. And, even the way that language sometimes reinforces this idea that humans have a license to extract and exploit the earth for our own ends, and often in an unlimited way. And so I'm glad that you have resonated so much with, among other things, the indigenous life ways that are speaking to a sense of reciprocity with the more than human world in so many different indigenous cultures that relate to the plants and the animals as relatives, right? And this sensibility from South America of Pachamama, which has obviously been so influential in places like Ecuador and Peru, and even found representation in governance through protections for the rights of nature. More and more rivers in South America have been granted legal rights, and in large measure because of indigenous leadership and understandings of earth jurisprudence. And I was also interested, you brought up that idea from Genesis that is sometimes translated as humans having dominion over the earth. And I remember reading Norman Wiersbe talking about that passage, who's an eco-theologian, and speaking to to humans' rightful place as earth keepers is the term he uses. I remember he relates that the Hebrew word radah to the way that farmers relate to their land and to their animals. It's more of a experience of relationship and reciprocity than domination, right? And so I'm curious to hear from you how that sort of reinterpretation, for instance, of a biblical injunction has inspired you to think differently, or the communities you're a part of, about how you might relate more mindfully and reverentially with the earth.
Well, it's really reinforced the belief in me that human well-being is inseparable from the health of the planet. And that is something that the Forum on Religion and Ecology also helped me with, because it led me to read Living Cosmology. And it really brought to light the idea of the universe as a dynamic and interconnected whole, where we're all independent. We're not separate from it. Everything has, as in like chi, same energy. And that really was quite eye-opening to me. And it really showed me, and it led me to the biomimicry community, really. I don't know if you if it's something very well known, but just the listeners, it's the idea of emulating what nature has deemed worthy of evolving, because we've had generations, we've had millennia and millions of years of evolution. So it's about taking the knowledge that Mother Earth has developed and using it and implementing it into daily life. And that's really been a novel community and something that I would have never, ever thought I'd be part of. But it's really taught me a lot of things. It's taught me that we can be collaborative stewards, not this dominionship that and this domineering view of stewardship is only detrimental to the planet. And we are the planet, and this divide between the planet and humanity only negatively affects us. So that is, it's been the most impactful side of really the course and the Forum on Religion and Ecology. And it's led me to start initiatives myself, which are called Branch. It's a platform for students. And it's about promoting ecocentric projects. The idea that we don't have to destroy the planet in order to develop economically in order to grow. And that is something that Kate Raworth talks about in her book Donut Economics. It's the idea of shifting perspectives. We don't want to chase economic growth and economic development, because the root of, in my opinion, the root of climate change and the root of a lot of these big issues that we're experiencing right now, so marine ecosystem degradation, rapid sea level rise, is unchecked economic growth. So we really need to protect the environment for the generations, not only because we want to exist, but because it affects us and it is detrimental to us if we do not do that.
Totally. I mean, you brought up and weaved together so many amazing ideas there. First off, this idea of a living cosmology, and I'm so glad you brought up this Chinese sensibility of qi, or vital energy, pervading all of matter, all the material universe, this energy of vitality and potentiality that we see throughout the more than human world. And yeah, I'm so fascinated by how you've connected some of the ideas in this course, particularly around the ecological ethics of the world's religions and a cosmological ethics, you could say, that's sort of nesting our understanding of human behaviors and institutions within a larger Earth and universe context to kind of more consciously align human practices with the living systems of our planet. And it's so interesting to see you connecting that to your work through biomimicry, you mentioned, and through Branched, this organization you founded. So I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about what is biomimicry for those who might not be so familiar, and what are some examples of biomimicry in practice?
So to me, biomimicry is it's a way of thinking. I think it's a way of uniting ourselves with nature, and it's using designs, it's using structures to benefit us economically and also sustainably, to ensure sustainability within production. So to me, one of the most impactful examples of biomimicry is the use of the kingfisher beak. And that has been used in the bullet train throughout Japan. So it is more efficient. So it means that less energy obviously is consumed. The train can go faster. Further to that, I actually saw an Instagram reel yesterday about Lamborghini using it for drive shafts to reduce the amount of aluminium and the amount of metal used. And yeah, they are basically emulating bone structures in birds. So its use, you can see, is very, very large and broad, and it goes from practical to theoretical. So emulating, like in my mind, Kate Raworth's cyclical economic theory really emulates the like water's restorative cycle. So it's to me, it's quite fascinating because we can implement biomimicry in every single aspect of our life. And this and this big thing within the world, the idea of net zero, is something that the planet does all the time. It's something that occurs in the rainforest. So by learning from these systems, from these ecospheres, we can actually impact our own economy in ways that are unfathomable right now, but exist. We just have to find them.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing up tangible examples of biomimicry in practice. So interesting to hear about the kingfisher beak and the bullet train. It's a connection I'd never thought of before. But I love this idea that you're bringing of learning from the dynamics of ecosystems and the more than human world, and the various ways that through vast millennia of evolution, the living systems of our planet have learned different mechanisms for equilibrium and homeostasis. And, I know so many climate scientists and researchers are interested in natural forms of carbon sequestration, for instance, or looking to rainforests and uh, other ecosystems as carbon sinks, as ways of bringing carbon into the Earth's atmosphere using natural processes that also promote biodiversity. So really interesting to hear you making those connections between the ideas of the course and these examples of biomimicry in practice.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the really big things, and as you mentioned, this carbon sequestration, and the course actually led me in part to find something called biochar. And to the people listening, biochar is basically just a form of carbon. And obviously, carbon can be just a diamond, but biochar is, in my opinion, one of the most incredible things we exist at the moment, because it can serve as a solution to many of our biggest issues. Basically, what it's done is it can be used from building materials to soil, and particularly I've been researching its soil usage because I've been writing a literature review on it, and because of its high porosity, it helps with water retention. So less water has to be used, and obviously, water crisis is one of the biggest issues we face in the world. It due to its high porosity, it is a home for microorganisms, so there is a lot more soil fertility. And apart from that, it absorbs carbon. So it absorbs carbon in a way that is natural and can stay in the ground for millennia, which in my opinion is better, because unlike using a big thing to suck the air and basically just pump it down 400 meters, you can implement this anywhere and everywhere. Because particularly what I found, and I know you've looked at agrarian Buddhism in Sri Lanka, but in a lot of these agricultural cultures, you have basically the ritual burning of the rice every single year. And this actually produces biochar, because biochar is just produced by the burning of organic matter via pyrolysis. And that is just burning something in low amounts of oxygen. So it is very accessible everywhere, and it can be implemented everywhere in the world. And yeah, it serves as the biggest issue that we face, and the biggest issue that tends to take the centerpiece in economic policy, which is carbon emissions. So yeah, this course really led me to investigate a lot of things, particularly because via biomimicry, it's opened my eyes to the world, really. It's really shifted the way that I think.
Amazing. And it's funny you mentioned biochar, because I was just having a conversation yesterday about biochar, actually. And this week, I'm going to an environmental justice conference here at the Yale School of the Environment. And at that conference last year, I heard an indigenous ecologist, Lila June, talk about biochar, especially in the Amazon basin, and the way that indigenous peoples in that region historically used biochar in their agriculture. And she was saying that it actually helped regenerate the biodiversity of that region and make the soil that much more arable for generations. And she held that up as an example of ways that humans can help enhance their ecosystems and potentially help promote biodiversity, and ideally the resilience of our food systems. So I think that's very exciting that you're doing this lit review on biochar and exploring this ancient form of creativity from the earth.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Terra Preta is like, which is what it's known as in the Amazon. I, as a young child, was really interested in like lost Amazonian cultures. So I encountered biochar before I even knew what it was, really, because it is one of the reasons why they know that civilizations existed within the Amazon, because you have these layers of really dark strata of soil that have been obviously produced by humans. So I think that, like what is mentioned in the Forum on Religion and Ecology, there are not only theoretical ways of learning from indigenous cultures, there are also practical ways. And this is just an example of something that was discovered 2,000 years ago, and has been used for centuries. that we only now have seen the practical benefits of. And in the same way, we could really easily see the practical benefits of implementing indigenous perspectives on religion and the environment into our economic policy. So yeah, it's really quite exciting for me, all these new projects.
Yeah, definitely to see all of these intersections in your emerging work and between your education, your study of these online courses, and then your practical work with biochar and in potentially exploring the implications of promoting biochar as a solution, a response to climate change and to biodiversity loss. I know the health of soils is such a pressing topic with the depletion of the nutrient density of our soils, especially in mass agriculture. So while I'm not an expert in biochar, it's exciting to see you on this learning journey and exploring its potential applications. I'm also curious to draw you out a little bit more about Branched, this organization that you have co-founded, and yeah, to learn more about it and see how it maybe connects to some of these ideas or these intersections of religion and ecology.
Yeah, so me and my co-founders, so I founded Branched with a girl from Lebanon, and I founded Branched with a boy from Guayaquil in Ecuador, and we met them, and I met them during my internship at an educational foundation called the Born Global Foundation, and we saw an issue, and the issue was that all these environmental clubs within the US, because it's very important, a lot of these schools didn't have a way of connecting with each other and didn't have a way of collaborating. Strength comes in numbers, and you could be doing a completely different project than the school next to you, or even doing the same project, and you wouldn't know because they're not engaging in discourse. And so we thought, look, we're going to make a platform where manifestations, protests, projects can be promoted, because in my opinion, everything is going this environmental route. Inevitably, whether you are a chemist or you're involved in finance, you are going to be involved in some way or another with the environment and the protection of it and creating a sustainable world. So we thought, look, we just want to create a platform where these ideas can be exchanged and we can be connected to a range of professions. So it's in the early stages now. We've launched a platform, we've had people signing up, but our final goal really is to have regular talks every single day from people working at the Department of Energy. So we're involved with a doctor called Dr. Cooper Yerby, who currently is involved in membrane technology and the use of it for cleaning up old mining sites in the US. But we also want people to understand that if you're a banker in the future, you're really going to have to be looking at the longevity of the companies, or if you're an investor, you really need to be looking at the environmental impact of the companies you're investing in, because that may determine whether they succeed or not. So we just want to create an environment where these ideas can be exchanged. And particularly, it's been vocation to me. So I'm trying to connect. I've got a cousin that works for KIT public charter schools. So I've really been trying to have it be implemented at a lot of these schools where disadvantaged kids won't know about a lot of these things. And if they don't understand, if they don't learn about it now, they may be left behind, really. And you don't want that for a whole generation of individuals to not be able to get a job, really, because they haven't understood the impact of the environment. And to give a means of communication to some of these people which are really involved but don't really have the ability to connect with these industry leading professionals. So I may have talked a bit too much about it, but that's my that's what I've created with my co-founders, and I believe that it will have an impact.
Yeah, so cool to see this kind of mycelial web you've woven between.
That is actually what I compared it to. I actually
wow.
did biomimicry. It's I linked it to growing equitably, organically, and sustainably.
Wow, I love that three-part vision. It's really vivid. And yeah, this community that is emerging across the UK, Ecuador, and Lebanon, among other places. And I also work with schools in integral ecology and with student organizations passionate about climate resilience and biodiversity restoration, among other issues. And so I'm really inspired by how you're bringing these different communities together to try to deepen our ecological consciousness, and especially for those who are less privileged or students who might not have access to some of the insights that you have shared, and to try to make the opportunities to pursue a vocation or career in the environmental field just more accessible and more equitable for young people. Because I totally agree with what you're saying about how environmental thinking is, and environmental being is something that is cutting across all sorts of different disciplinary boundaries. And you started by speaking about economics and ecological economics as, foremost among them, about fundamentally rethinking some of these assumptions that have oriented the processes of our economic and political systems. So where do you see this work taking you, Nico, with Branched? And you're doing all this exciting work in biochar and in creating these ecological networks that are sharing ideas, resources, education, innovations. Where do you see yourself growing with these various engagements that you're a part of?
Well, I really see, I'm doing this because I'm quite interested in it. I've dedicated a lot of time and effort into it myself. The real big reason why I do this is because, in my mind, it doesn't matter what you like. There will always be an environmental aspect of it. To me, it's economics. I would love to be an economist or go into like eco-finance. I think it's quite interesting. Something like that myself. But I would love to give the opportunity to other people so that they can find their niche within the environment as well. I think that's about it's about really selling yourself, and I'm really interested in this, and it's about uniting two passions and creating your own career path. And for me, this means looking at the environment and its intersect with economics and policy and ethics. And to other people, it may be something different, but giving them the ability and the option to take that route, I think, is what's important for me.
Amazing. And I love how you're letting that vocational path emerge organically by pursuing your passions in environmental studies, in ethics, and in economics, and seeing how they come together in creative and often unexpected ways, which it already
Definitely.
sounds like this journey has
They are
taken
quite
you.
disparate topics. And I mean, I've actually never asked you this, but how did you get into this interest and create and participate in the creation of the forum on religion and ecology?
Totally. Well, it's a long answer, Nico. I appreciate you posing it. And in relatively short measure, I've always been interested in the big questions of religion. Who are we? Where do we come from? How should we be in this world? How should we relate to the more than human world? And I've always been deeply concerned about our relationship with the Earth community, and the unprecedented disruptions that humans have had through anthropogenic climate change and through precipitating the Earth's sixth mass extinction in the Earth's 4 billion year history, and how these parts of our identity, of who we are as human beings and our ancient wisdom traditions, can help us find clarity and resilience and a path forward in these challenging times. So by studying philosophy and religion, and by studying environmental studies, over time, I really saw these parts of myself start to come together. And a number of years ago, I first saw the film Journey of the Universe, which was co-produced by Mary Evelyn Tucker and John Grimm. And that film really helped weave together these different parts of my being, really bringing together my interests in philosophy and religion and ethics with an environmental perspective of our embeddedness within the living systems of our planet, within the biosphere and the lithosphere and the atmosphere, and how do we relate in a healthy and reciprocal way with these dynamics that have supported our evolution as humans across hundreds of thousands of years, and as an Earth community across 4 billion years, right? And so I have a really exciting opportunity with the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology to really explore those fertile intersections between the wisdom of the world's cultural and religious traditions across time, and then what we're learning about the Earth's systems from contemporary science, and especially climate science and biodiversity science, and all the various topics that are emerging in such with such poignancy and urgency in our time, to really help galvanize a kind of values-driven response to the challenges we're facing, and to inspire hope and resilience to kind of animate these paths forward through, some of the work that you're exploring in regenerative agriculture and in climate resilience and in soil remediation, biomimicry, all these emerging fields that you speak to. So thanks for the opportunity to share.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really have to say that, and I can wholeheartedly say that if I could do it again, I would do it again. But this introduction to religion and ecology by the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology really gives you the means of understanding. I mean, you can understand in lots of depth if you really want. It gives you the option to do further reading. You have the videos, really, which are really quite helpful and they ask you questions midway through, so you stay focused, so you don't completely zone out. But yeah, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what religion you believe in, it doesn't matter what God you believe in, or if you even have a God. You will learn something from the course, because there is such a wide, it goes through history of different religions, it goes through the history of ecology, and then it goes and it really branches out to all aspects of how ecology impacts our daily life. And yeah, I really think that it is a great course to do. And if I was president, I would make everyone in the world do it in the US, just to, I think it serves as a way of breaking the shackles of restraint that a lot of us have on our minds regarding the environment and regarding policy.
Yeah, appreciate that affirmation of the course, Nico, and you lifting up your positive experience and bringing together these different ways of knowing in this creative, emergent synergy. And I'm so glad that you had such a meaningful learning experience. And for those listening, you can access our free courses at fore.yale.edu, where you can access the Coursera landing page and enroll in the courses, which are free for audit on the Yale Coursera platform. So, and Nico, any parting message you'd like to share with our listeners for today?
I mean, yeah, I think good luck. Everyone's got their own journey learning about themselves, the environment. Go follow Branched on Instagram. It's Branched Connect. And hopefully we can grow into a much bigger thing and expand like mycelium and really help everyone and widen people's viewpoints. Just want to thank the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology, and obviously Dr. Sam King here for having this meeting. And yeah, hopefully this is not our last chat. And yeah, thank you very much for everything.
Absolutely, Nico. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today, and I look forward to staying connected, and I'm wishing you well in all of your exciting and ongoing creative work.
Thank you very much.
All righty.